So many people settle on being average, but average is mediocre. And that's not what life is really about. Same with your business. A mediocre business is one on its way out of business.
That's right.
The difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength or knowledge, but a lack of will. And so it's the willingness to stretch, the willingness to see how far you can go, the willingness to remain, in that tension.
Yep.
Because there is a lot of tension. It is uncomfortable when you're trying to learn new things and apply new things and do things differently than you have in the past. Stretching always requires change.
Grab some coffee, a Mountain Dew, maybe both. A storm is brewing. The BrainStorm. Welcome to the BrainStorm with Matt and Mike.
Hey, welcome to the BrainStorm with Matt and Mike. Today's going to be a great day. Mike, we've done this topic many times. In fact, we've trained some of our clients in these subjects, and it's based off John Maxwell's 15 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Yep.
And it's excellent. Actually, it's 15 Irrefutable Laws of Growth. My bad. Yep. I'm sorry. But
which are also important for leadership.
Which is also in leadership, no doubt about it. And it's some of my favorite content that John Maxwell's put out. He put it out a good while back, but I know that I've studied it. You've studied it. A lot of our clients have now studied it because we trained some of our clients on it. And it's probably some of just the best principles I think you as a business owner and you as an organization can lead. I know you've done a lot of it.
Right. So we know that growth is the only path to a better tomorrow. And so if you haven't read the book, 15 Laws of Growth,
right?
Then go out, buy John Maxwell, you owe it to yourself. You can probably order it on Amazon, go to your local bookstore. Yep. And pick it up.
Yeah, you definitely won't be disappointed, and I would have all of your entire team read it as well. So in a previous episode, I know that we addressed the first 5 because there's 15 total. Today we're going to do laws 6 through 10, if you will. But in a previous episode, we discussed laws 1 through 5. How about review those for us, Mike?
Yeah, so law number 1, Matt, was the law of intentionality. Mm-hmm. It essentially says growth doesn't just happen. It's just not automatic.
Right.
And we know that every day goes by doesn't mean you get better every day.
Right.
You have to be really intentional about that. Law number 2, the law of awareness. So you must know yourself to grow yourself. We know that self-awareness is actually the number 1 predictor of success in life and in the business world.
Yep.
Law number 3, the law of the mirror. You must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. You've got to believe in yourself before you'll invest in yourself is essentially what that's stating. The law of reflection, learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you. It's pausing, reflecting, and then taking and applying what you've actually learned. And then the law of consistency, motivation gets you going and discipline keeps you growing.
Yeah, so this book and this show and the last show, and we'll have a third segment where we'll go over laws 11 through 15 in one of our future episodes that we'll do probably in the next couple of weeks. And I'm excited to just about this entire study or this entire show that we're doing together. Because we talk a lot about marketing and advertising. We talk a lot about business processes. Our whole entire show is about helping business owners and business executives possibly avoid some roadblocks or some speed bumps in their business and just provide them some direction and some wisdom that we've been able to glean from some of our past customers and client experiences that we've had. And what this show is all about is creating a great culture for people. And what we definitely have learned over our years is that with a good culture, then your business can move forward.
Oh, yeah.
And so a culture can't just be around one person or 2 people. It has to be around everybody. And growth, which is specifically about these lessons here today and the lessons from the previous and next episodes are all about growth. Growth is what really starts to create that great culture.
You know what, Matt? That's a great segue into the first law we're going to discuss today, law number 6. Why don't you lead that one for us?
Okay, yeah, the law of the environment. Most people, they go to work somewhere, or in the case of a leader, they create an environment for someone. And in most places, they're looking to just literally get things done, right? Whether it's a service-oriented company or a product-oriented company, manufacturing to distribution to whatever it is, they literally just want their people to produce, right? But we both know that if you want great people, because what's happening right now in today's society is you're having struggles from getting good people to go to work for people. And so people are always saying, business owners are always looking for great people to come. And what's happening is they're forgetting about the environment, and growth thrives in conducive surroundings. And so you have to really build that environment that you want good people to come and stay in. One thing's for sure, that if you're always the head of the class, then you're probably in the wrong class, right? And so when you're looking at it from a leader perspective, often people, and you've seen this, people will probably think that they are much better than they might be outside of that environment. I would definitely argue that the environment can help create both great growth and slow growth, right? If you're in an environment, if you create an environment for your folks that's not growth oriented and pushing growth and accelerating growth, then people that are used to growing themselves will actually just stop doing it. And then everybody stops doing it, right? So the environment can either breed good things or breed bad things.
That's right.
Some of the questions that I would say to a leader to ask yourself are these: are other people ahead of me, right? So even as a leader, you want to hire great people and smart people, and you want to hire people that knows how to do their job better than you know how to do their job. That's what you want to do. So are others actually ahead of me? Am I frequently challenged? Am I challenged to be the best leader that I can be in way of growth and way of leadership? Is my focus forward, not backwards? And so I want to make sure, you said earlier in some of the past laws of the law of the mirror, the law of Paul's, and those types of things. And you want to just make sure that you're focused on forward. Do I wake up excited? Am I going to get up ready to go to work, and ready to go to work with the team and the environment that's been created and that's pushing the whole entire model forward? And lastly, do I model growth and illustrate that growth is expected from everybody there? So those are the types of questions that I would ask myself if I wanted to take a good snapshot of what the environment is that we've been able to create. And here's the deal. If you're in a bad environment, believe me, you will definitely know it over time, right? And it won't take much time. The organization will be sluggish, and good team members, they won't stay long and certainly won't last. If you're in a good growth environment, you and everyone around you literally gets better. But I can tell you, you aren't anywhere close to being as good as you think you are when you're in a really good environment. We see it all the time. We see people that's doing very, very well. And you can also, let me give you this analogy, you can also see it in professional sports, right?
Absolutely.
And so professional sports, a young player comes in, they haven't played, the veteran goes out injured, but the environment, the team is so good. The young player comes in, they take some good snaps as quarterback, as example, and they have great success. Then 2 weeks later or 2 months later, the offseason comes, they sign a huge contract, and they fizzle away because the next environment they go to wasn't as good.
Yeah, they were playing above their head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the law of the environment. Mike, talk to us about law number 7.
Yeah, so law number 7, Matt, is the law of design. And what it says is to maximize growth, develop strategies. Growth requires a plan. Plan to fail to plan to fail.
Yep.
I'll say that again. Fail to plan to fail. And so what happens, and that's in your business, that's also when it comes to personal development. And so whether you're the named, titled leader in your organization, or you're the most junior person in your organization, or maybe perhaps you're not even in an organization yet. You have aspirations, or you're about to graduate college, or whatever level of schooling that you're in, and you're looking to make a name for yourself in whatever environment you're going to put yourself in. You need to be the leader of yourself first and foremost. And what that takes is putting a plan together to get better. And so instead of competing with everyone else, really aim to be the best version of yourself that you can be today, but don't settle for that. Put a plan together so you can become better tomorrow.
Oh, I like it.
And the next day and the next day.
I like it.
And so that's going to require a plan. Growth doesn't just happen by accident.
Right.
You've got to really map out the steps it's going to take to get where you want to go. And so what that looks like is creating systems that help you track and measure how you're advancing, whether that's picking the books you're going to read or the courses you're going to take, building a regimen, like knowing when you're going to read or take the course, and then tracking each of your activities to make sure that you remain consistently on pace to achieve becoming that best version of you.
Yeah, I like it.
And so it's what you do daily, not in a day, that matters. Oftentimes we see people, get really excited about going to an event, and they don't really do any growing outside of a weekend event, a 3 or 4 day conference, maybe even a week-long conference, and they believe that they can get away with not really investing daily in their growth and waiting until those couple of times a year where they're going to, kind of get fire hose in the face with information. The reality is they're going to retain very little during that time. That's great for inspiration, but it doesn't last. And so it's kind of like taking a bath. You don't take a bath once a quarter. You take a bath every single day.
Right.
Even though you might wash off the stink once a quarter, you're going to stink a lot in between.
No doubt.
So it's that daily habit of just continuing to go back and have a regimen and not trying to do it all in a day, do it daily. Really maximize your time. Make sure that your plan allows you to make the most use of your time. Time is our most precious asset. We can't make more of it. And so we need to make the best use of it humanly possible. And that requires a very clear plan. Really look big picture. Stephen Covey, with 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he would say begin with the end in mind.
Right.
And so really map out who you want to become and then figure out what is it that I need to learn? How do I need to grow? What things do I need to do to grow into that person I want to become?
That's right.
And then, chart your course toward that goal. And then consistency. Make sure that you create the habit. As the saying goes, you create your habits, Matt, and your habits create you.
Yep.
And so that is the law of design. You design a plan to help you get where you want to go, and then you execute it.
Yeah, and if you listen to the names of these laws, right? The law of the environment, right?
Yeah.
You would almost understand and be able to see and picture what we're talking about, and just using those phrases, see and picture, goes right into the law of the design. You design the plan and map it out based off of where your goals of your organization is. And if you got goals and aspirations to have a really solid organization, then you need to make sure you have a law of the design in place. And the next one is a very, very good law, and because it's chock full of great information, Mike, and I know that you're going to go over this one with us as well, as the law of pain. Mike, go over the law of pain for us. This is law number 8 in John Maxwell's book.
We're all going to go through some type of pain, no matter how much we try and avoid it. Pain is inevitable.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a broken world, and it's just inevitable. You're going to run into some tough patches.
Yep.
You're going to hit some speed bumps, we call them sometimes, or potholes. And it's not so much trying to avoid them. I mean, obviously we want to see them when we can and steer around them when we can. But inevitably we're going to find ourselves in some of these challenging moments.
Life has ups and downs. There's no doubt about it.
That's exactly right. And so really it's good management of these bad experiences that really can lead to great growth. That's the interesting thing about pain or painful experiences. When we're most challenged, it really is creating the greatest opportunity for growth because it really challenges who we are. It's going to stretch us, which we'll talk about later on in this episode in another law. But, there's a saying, a smooth sea never made a skillful sailor. And that's true. I mean, you're not going to become great at sailing if you're always out and the water looks like
If
glass.
everything's perfect conditions.
Yeah, because the storms eventually are going to come.
Right.
And when they come, if you don't know how to navigate the boat, you're probably going to find yourself in the water.
Right. Yeah. And that's when it's obvious you don't know how to navigate.
Yeah. Get your bucket because you're
Right.
You're trying to get water out of the boat.
No doubt.
So really, key to doing that, key to managing those painful experiences is really working hard at maintaining a positive stance. Don't let it beat you down. Because we can't control everything that happens to us, but we can always control our response. We don't control, if we don't control our emotions are going to end up controlling us. And so it's really important, even in the toughest of times, to stop, reflect, and realize that you may not have control of everything, but you do have complete control in how you navigate and respond to whether it's a good or bad experience, quite honestly. Remain optimistic. Pessimism is contagious and it's nasty. And it'll just suck the life out of you. And I've never seen someone walk around like Eeyore and come out on the other side better than they did when they went in. It's an opportunity to be more like Winnie the Pooh and just stay positive. And but don't give Eeyore or any of those other animals your honey. Hold on to that. But and all kidding aside, be generous, not selfish in those scenarios, because generosity also helps lift you. And whether that's your time or that's your resources, but really just kind of stay the course and you will find the other side of these painful experiences. It's a great opportunity to develop creativity. You've got to find creative ways, especially if it's a longer season of pain. And I'll talk about an experience that you and I share in just a moment. But, life really does begin at the end of your comfort zone. And when we find ourselves way over our head, it's time to get creative. And so thinking on that, back in 2006 range, you and I had a real estate company. And the market began to soften. And eventually the housing market plummeted here in South Carolina. And as it did, I think, pretty much across the United States.
Yeah, throughout the country.
And, but we really had this differentiator, and it was that we had a marketing department inside our real estate company. And so we had a graphic designer, a videographer, photographer, and a web developer. And that really helped us differentiate ourselves from most of the competition back in that time period.
Oh, yeah.
And so we thought that we had a real estate company that had a marketing department. It turns out that God had a different plan for us. And he's like, no, you guys have a marketing company. You just don't know it yet. Right now, you're just selling real estate.
Right.
And so, but we had to really go through some challenging, times. It was very painful without going into tons of details during this episode. But essentially, we found ourselves on multiple occasions literally selling our personal belongings at the local flea market on a Saturday just so we could make payroll.
Yep.
And I remember it was cold and
it was painful.
We were selling things that it wasn't like we sold the stuff that's been sitting in our attic. I mean, we were taking pictures off the wall.
Yeah, it was painful.
At home. I mean, it was painful, but we had to get creative. We got creative in two ways. Number one, how we're going to make payroll. We had to make sure we took care of our team. And so we didn't have enough revenue coming in to do it. We really didn't have the money sitting in our bank accounts to do it.
Yeah. Real estate
what
was
we did is we had some pictures
low
on the walls and some other things that we could take off. And,
real estate was all-time low. Banks were not loaning money. I mean, everything was just financially shut down.
It was interesting times. But again, it really created an opportunity for us to really grow. It showed us what we were capable of really going through,
right,
and being able to get to the other side. But the other thing is, it really helped us completely change our entire business model.
It did.
I mean, we were able to go in and recognize that this real estate thing right now is probably not the answer for us.
Right.
So
especially in 06.
Yeah, no doubt. And so what did we do? We started taking on work that people were calling for.
Right.
At that time, people needed websites. People, even in small business, were really starting to understand, hey, I think I need a website. They weren't in real estate necessarily.
Right, no.
They were in other industries.
Yep.
But those industries weren't hit as hard during that time as the real estate market. So we started helping people outside of that real estate realm mostly.
Yep.
And a few that were still somehow surviving that, those times in the real estate market. We were helping them from a marketing perspective. And it just continued to evolve. And of course, now today we have Splash Omnimedia, which, we're 15 years in. And that has been a successful venture for us. Thank you, God, for that blessing. And but without going through that experience, we would have never ended up in this business.
Yeah, no, the law of the pain was absolutely clear as a mirror in that particular case.
Yeah, so you just have to learn from those bad experiences. The key is when you have those bad experiences, the things that you learn, you should become a little wiser and be able to see those things, forecast them in the future, and avoid repeating some of those pains.
Right. Yeah, the law of the pain, man, it's good to be able to reflect.
It is.
Going back to the law of reflection and the law of the mirror and things of that nature, it's good to be able to go back through those experiences, knowing that we've learned from them. That's definitely good. And so now we're on the law of the ladder. The law of the ladder is a pretty cool law. It talks really about character is the main thing, and just as you can imagine, from a ladder, you're going upward, you're stepping up, right? You're taking the next step upward in a ladder. And so character growth really determines the height. And if you envision a ladder there, character growth really determines the height of your personal growth. And so really it's got to be on the inside in order for it to come on the outside. So I'll kind of start breaking it down into two different talking points for us during this segment. The first is character, and the second is competency, right? And people start to really wonder, is it the kind of the chicken or the egg syndrome, like which came first or which does come first? And I know that as we interview people, right, and we go through a very rigorous process for our people here that's doing the interviewing, and for the prospects and the potential team members that we hire, but we want to make sure that they fit our culture, right? So we almost look towards character first. And so when you look at character and you want to make sure they fit your culture, you also want to look at your own character, right? And so what you want to say is, really, based off my character, this is who I am as a leader, right? This is who you will be as a leader. The second, though, and I wouldn't call it number two, I would call it like 1B, because they have to go together, So character and competency, and this is what I can do as a leader. So character is like, this is who I am as a leader, and competency is, this is what I can do as a leader. But here's the first thing that you have to understand when you're looking at character and competency. They absolutely have to go together. That's why I called it 1A and 1B. Mm-hmm. You can't even separate the two. I know this, that if you have high character, right, but you have no competency, that just means you're a great person, but you're absolutely worthless to the organization, right? You're worthless. And you probably, business owners and business executives are probably sitting there going, okay, well, I know who they're talking about within my organization. But what I'm challenging you is it you? Like, is it you as the leader, right? And so make sure that you have both. Make sure that you have both character and competency. They have to go together. Because competency without character means that you're really, really good at what you do, but nobody wants to be around you. So you have people that everybody wants to flock to that simply can't do the work, or you have people that can do the work really good that nobody wants to be around. That's why the two have to go together. Character is on the inside and reputation is on the outside. But the better you are on the inside, over time, the better the outside will become. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure everybody understands that. The better you are on the inside, the better character you have. Even if your reputation is not that good, over time your reputation will become great. It will become much better, right? But if you don't have any character, then over time, it doesn't matter where your reputation starts out as. It could start out as one of the best people in the community, over time that reputation will drop significantly. So here's 3 things that you definitely want to just think about. Your inside will control your outside. That's your inside will control your outside. Your inside development is totally within your control. You actually just said that a few minutes ago, Mike. So your inside development is totally within your control. And inside victories should precede outside victories. In other words, you have to believe in yourself. You said it a minute ago in a couple of the laws, actually, and even a previous episode, right? And so you definitely have to have some inside victories before you have victories on the outside, because this will bring on a habit of winning. Because before you can do, you must be. And that's the law of the ladder. It's an awesome, awesome law. Hey, before we jump into the next law, I would also invite you to go to the brainstormradio.com, subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out some of the resources that we put on there for you. We don't charge for any of the stuff. That's why we do the show. We do the show specifically to help business owners and business executives possibly avoid some road bumps and some roadblocks, if you will. And we're always happy to help you. We enjoy helping business leaders across the country within their business. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. All you do is complete our form online on the brainstormradio.com, and we'll be happy to get back in touch with you. Mike, talk to us a little bit about, just if we're looking back at all the laws that we've done so far. We've done laws 1 through 9, right? And so we've done a ton of laws. Give me 1 or 2 that you just absolutely love. I know, and it's hard. I know it's hard, right? Because you like them all. Hard. But what is 1 or 2 that you just really love to focus on?
Let's go back to the law of the ladder for a minute. Because we talked about character and competency. And, some folks, if they go and become more self-aware, if they're really willing to pause, look in the mirror and say, you know what? I may not be operating with strong character. I may be displaying poor character. For whatever reason, allow yourself to, I would encourage you, allow yourself to feel the pain of that for a minute, but don't live in that. You don't have to stay there. If you've been operating with poor character, that is changeable.
Right.
You can make the decision right now that you're not going to live that way anymore. You are going to become the person that I believe God intended for you to be.
Right.
And for you to choose to be honest and truthful and to treat people with respect, and to let a yes be a yes, a no be a no, and if you make a mistake, you own it, and that's probably easier to fix more quickly than competency.
Right.
Now, on the competency side of things, Matt, I would say that if someone is incompetent because they just lack the skill. So, as an example, if someone wanted to choose me. And for those of our viewers, listeners that know me personally, you would know that I'm probably not that tall. I'm probably not going to make a great, NBA basketball player. So no matter how I'm not competent or physically gifted to be good in that game.
Right.
I'm also not a great singer. If you don't believe me, you could just ask my wife.
Yeah.
She'll let you know when she has to leave the house while I'm taking a shower. And so, those are areas that no matter how much I try and work on competency in that, I can learn how to control my vocal cords, all those things, I'm still going to stink at it.
Yeah.
But if I am lacking competency because I haven't invested the time to improve, I took whatever natural talent I have and tried to just ride my natural talent. We know that talent's never enough, and eventually you're going to get beat. What do they say? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Right, exactly.
And so you can change that too. It's going to take a little longer for you to see as big of an impact. If you've had poor character for a long time, don't expect that people are going to trust you immediately. It takes a long time to build that trust, and it takes only really moments to erode it.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
And so that's one of them, Matt, that I would say I think is really important. Of course, the law of design. As a marketing agency, One of the first things that we do, as you know, is we slow people down and say, hey, before we start executing, we need to really create a plan. We need to understand our goals. And so those things go hand in hand. Life and business, really growing those two things are very similar.
Right.
So you approach them in a similar fashion. And so if you get really good at developing a plan for your life, you can take that same philosophy and apply it really in any area of life, including your business.
Well, those two things definitely go together when it comes to marketing and advertising, right? You want to lay the plan out, You want to create the plan from the law to design, and then you want to grow your business, right? That's
right.
The law of the ladder. And so you want to grow your business. Of course, I'm applying personal growth into business
all goes hand
growth,
in hand.
but it all is the same thing, right? So you you map out the plan, and then you grow it. I mean, that's what it boils down to. It's funny because I was watching Saturday Night Live. I don't know. It's probably a decade ago, 15 years ago, back when I thought Saturday Night Live was really funny.
Right.
I don't think Saturday Night Live is as funny these days.
It has its moments.
But back then, and I remember there was a segment on there where everything was just two parts. You identify the problem, and then you fix it.
Yeah.
And so they just did this whole entire segment of identify the problem, fix it. Like, it's 2 steps to everything. Identify the problem and fix it.
Right.
So I love that. Law number 10. It's actually one of my favorite. It's definitely my favorite when I'm in person training an organization on this because of the physical, the physical visuals that you get to use, and you're getting ready to understand what I mean by that. Mike, go over the law number 10 with us.
Yes, I'll share. Recently, I shared this. In fact, I think in the past week and a half, I shared it with a group via Zoom. So it was the first time I'd ever shared it virtually in a meeting. But I pulled out a bag of rubber bands and I showed the group, and then I had them brainstorm on what they could use the rubber band for. So to segue into that, law number 10 is the law of the rubber band.
The rubber band.
And what it says is growth stops when you lose the tension between where you are and where you could be. And so what I did is I asked them, I said, hey, name some things that you could use one of these for, rubber band. And so I gave them about 45 seconds and then just called on a few people. And, I heard things like you could create a ponytail if you have long hair. You can hold together a poster. You can roll up the poster and hold it together, or a set of plans, like a builder might have, or an architect. And then one of them that was really funny, a guy says, if you take a handful of them and put them around a watermelon, it'll explode.
It'll explode, yeah.
He's like, I know because I've seen it on YouTube. And I'm like, I've seen that too, and I'd love to try it out at your office, not mine. And so, Charlie Blight, love to make my way to your place and do that sometime. And so, really, the rubber band's useless unless it's being stretched. And the same for us. As people, we weren't meant to be stagnant. Stagnant water, what does it attract? A bunch of flies, bunch of bugs.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's nasty.
Mosquitoes in the South, big time.
Yeah. And so people's attitudes are better when they're growing, being stretched. Their ability to be better is more likely to be there when they're being stretched. So few people, though, really want to be stretched. Most people want to stay in their comfort zone because stretching at the end of the day is uncomfortable. I mean, if you've ever been exercising and then you stop for a period of time and then you begin again, you're getting back into it and you're stretching it, it's kind of painful.
Yeah.
It hurts. So many people settle on being average, but average is mediocre. And that's not what life is really about. Same with your business. A mediocre business is one on its way out of business.
That's right.
You're
either going up or you're going down.
Yep. And so Vince Lombardi, obviously, Matt, very well who he is. He's famously quoted, the difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength or knowledge, but a lack of will. And so it's the willingness to stretch, the willingness to see how far you can go, the willingness to remain, in that tension.
Yep.
Because there is a lot of tension. It is uncomfortable when you're trying to learn new things and apply new things and do things differently than you have in the past. Stretching always requires change. If I'm exactly the same today as I was 3 years ago, something's gone really wrong. And if I'm not way better 3 years from now, same thing. Something's gone really, really wrong. Stretching, though, sets us apart from others. It's a great differentiator. And so when you're being intentional about growing yourself like on a daily basis, you're going to stand out from the crowd. People are going to take notice because they're going to say, hey, that Matt, he's different than he was 6 months ago when I ran into him. You know, 6 years ago when I knew him. Why is it that he's different and I'm still the same old tired person I was 6 years ago? If it makes you more valuable to the team, then it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And it does. Stretching makes you better, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. And so whether your team's at home or in your community or, at church or especially in your organization, when you're better, the team is going to be better. And so it's the people that get up a little early, invest a little more time, they add a lot more value to their organizations than those who just do the bare minimum. And the interesting thing is it also has the potential to become contagious. When people see other people growing, it builds hope, it builds excitement, and oftentimes we find that other people start to take notice and they start to stretch a little. They're like, you know what? Maybe I should try that too. Maybe I should stretch. Maybe it'll make me feel better. Maybe it'll make me a little better in my job.
It is addicting. There's no doubt.
No doubt.
When one person's doing it, other people want to do it.
So stretching provides you the greatest shot at achieving significance. And I know you do as well, Matt, that everyone has the potential to be significant if they're on the right bus, in the right seat, and they're willing to stretch like a rubber band and remain stretched and continue to stretch and grow. The interesting thing, the difference I would say between us and a rubber band is that our stretching potential is unlimited. We do know that no matter the size of the rubber band, eventually you stretch it far enough, it will pop.
Right.
You will not pop if you continue to stretch.
Yep.
It might feel like you're going to, but you're capable of doing so much more. We all are, than what we could ever imagine. So I am reminded of this commercial back when sneaker commercials were really, really popular. Nike, Reebok. If you remember back when the pumps came out.
Oh yeah, sure.
Some of our viewers and listeners are like,
how can I not?
What is that? Right? That's very retro.
I definitely had a pair of those.
And so me too. And so Emmitt Smith had just participated in winning the Super Bowl. And there's this television commercial, I think it was Reebok that he was sponsoring, and it's got him working out. And he says, he just won the Super Bowl, and it says, hey, I just won the Super Bowl, so now I can pause, now I can relax, now I can take a break. Mm-hmm. And what he do is he just pause at the top and then go back down and do another rep and another rep and another rep and another rep. And then he ends the commercial saying, all men were created equal, some just work harder in preseason.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is some women go out and they continue to stretch.
Right.
They get a little taste of victory. They don't go sit on their heels and think, oh, now I've arrived. I can just go.
Yeah, they're not just going to hang out.
Continue to skate on and coast to the finish line. No, you have to continue to stretch and work on it. I love that. It was impactful for me, even, as I don't remember what age I was at that time. I think I was in middle school maybe. And so it was awesome.
Well, I know, if you look at great athletes versus good athletes, and you'll see the great athletes are the people who are really stretching themselves over and over and over. And of course, when you're looking at professional sports, those are all the greatest athletes in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And so, of course, and even at a high college level, D1 type of level, and you're talking about some of the best athletes. So they're all stretched themselves from a physical perspective, but the great versus the good, they're not just stretching themselves from a physical nature.
Yeah.
They're going and studying tape and learning what the opponent is doing. And so they're growing in all types of ways other than what you would just expect them to grow in, right? So you would expect a bunch of running and a bunch of, cardio and a bunch of weightlifting. You expect those types of things, but what you don't expect is the studying, the stuff outside of the weight room.
The discipline.
And
it's all by design. Right? It is getting enough rest, eating the right foods, drinking the right fluids, I mean, it is very regimented. Most people say they want to achieve the things that they see whoever it is they admire,
Right.
whether that's in sports, athletically, or if that's in business. But most people are not willing to do what it takes and what those people did to achieve those results.
Right.
They want the reward without the work.
So there it is. That's law number 10 of John Maxwell's 15 irrefutable laws of growth. Again, we did 1 through 5 in a previous episode, 6 through 10, and we'll do 11 through 15 in one of the next episodes. So just as a quick recap, law number 6, the law of the environment. Growth thrives in conducive surroundings. Create an environment that you allow that to take place in, growth to take place in. Law 7, the law of design. You have to design a plan in which you enable you and your team to grow. The law of the pain, that's good management of bad experiences. It leads to great growth. And then the law of the ladder, growth, character growth determines the height of your personal growth. Followed by the last law of this particular episode, the law of the rubber band. Growth stops when you lose the tension between where you are and where you want to go. Hey, we really appreciate you joining us today on the Brainstorm with Matt and Mike. Again, check out the brainstormradio.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Feel free to take advantage of any of the resources we put on there. And as always, if we can help you with any of our brands like the Brand Buzz with promo and apparel and Splash Omnimedia with marketing and advertising strategies, check us out. Thanks for checking us out today on the Brainstorm with Matt and Mike.